Okay, I know how to do that. Hey, I guess I am live right now, but I am going to turn. I'm not sure why I'm showing like this, but I am, and let's see. Pretty funny. Okay, here we go. People, okay, and I'm going to turn your video off now.
Okay.
Okay, and then here I am. So here we go. Let's see. Okay. I guess I am on, everyone. I am live here on Facebook. And for some reason, I'm not showing as a big picture, but I'm hoping that it is doing what it's supposed to do. I'm going to check here on my phone right now to make sure you all are awesome for being so. There you are. Perfect. Okay, I'm looking around, it looks like. Okay, perfect. Just where I need to be. All right, everyone. Kathy Bacon here, and you have tuned in to Reality Chick. I am so excited about this because I haven't been doing any shows now for probably about, I would say it's been about 8 months, almost a year. I took a little bit of time off. I needed to regroup. I needed to settle into Seattle. And now that I have, I was presented with this idea from a very dear friend, Carolyn Strauss, and she just happened to put it up on Facebook one day that she had this idea about Reality Chick, and it was about real news, real women doing real things that matter, and it just resonated with me, especially now with all that's happening with women in our world. Wow, let's pat ourselves on the back. We are really stepping it up. That's all I can say is that we are really taking a stand about being women, about what we love, what we don't love, what we think is good, what we think is bad, and what we think is right for us. And that's a very important thing. So I have my power color on purple. I have my power lipstick on. So I'm pretty much ready to go. Thank you again for joining in. Today, my real woman that I want to talk about is Penny Jolie. And Penny Jolie is someone I have known for a while now. I knew her when we lived in Colorado and our daughters knew each other. And I'm really excited to have her here because she is a woman that is doing real things that matter. Before I give you a little bit of her background and what she's been through, I want to give you some statistics. And this is real news, okay? These are real statistics. Children who are raised by grandparents starting between the ages of 2 and 6 had the same levels of emotional development as other children, but lacked behind in academic skills. Only 11% of grandparents are raising their grandkids because of the death of one or both of their child's parents. Over 40% of children being cared for by a grandparent are there because at least one parent has substance abuse. 28% of the kids who are being raised by their grandparents were victims of abuse, abandonment, or neglect from their parents. And, you know, those are just a few, and I'll give you some more as we go through this interview. It's startling. It really is. And when you think of the grandparents that are raising their grandchildren, I think we all need to give them a hand right now. Can we? Can we please? Because listen, if they weren't taking care of them, if they weren't loving them, they would be out in the world somewhere in a foster care or with people that they didn't even know. So I really want to say that women and grandparents that are taking care of their grandchildren deserve the biggest hand we can give them. Now, let me Let me give you a little bit of the background of Penny. Um, she says that her daughter struggled with addiction for most of her life. On September 1st, 2011, her daughter Nicole gave birth to a baby girl. It was found at that time that their granddaughter had THC in her system. The hospital was supposed to have run additional blood work, but her daughter was discharged before that could ever happen. Her daughter and her husband came to their home from the hospital for the first 2 weeks, and they lived as a family because as they lived in a family homeless shelter and needed the extra support. She knew then, her and her husband had this feeling in their hearts that after a few months that they would someday be raising their granddaughter. They had family dinners every Sunday, and it was apparent that their granddaughter, and her name is Indy, wasn't thriving. She had been working out of town for a few weeks at a time and then found a dream job in Denver. The first week she started her new job, she received a call from the Jefferson County that her daughter had overdosed and that they needed to pick up Indy. The father had attempted to pick her up, but he also had drugs in his system, and they would not release Indy to the father, so she was going to foster care. Really, it's kind of emotional for me. So Penny said, there's no way this is happening. And if you know Penny, you know she said, there is no way this is going to happen because I am going to get her and we are going to pick her up and we are going to take care of her. She was 18 months old at that time. And let me tell you, their lives changed overnight. Nicole survived that overdose, but lost her daughter after the courts terminated both parental rights in July of 2013. They had a big party for Indy. They adopted her on National Adoption Day, and she was surrounded by friends and was celebrated with her forever family party because something in Indy's life needed to be celebrated. So, wow. I'd like you to welcome Penny Jolie. And here she is.
Hi. Thank you, Kathy. Now you're making me cry.
I got a little choked up.
I got choked up when you got choked up, believe me.
Yeah, I got a little choked up because I have known Nicole and I've known her at crucial times in both of our daughters' life, and that's what brought us together, which was a great thing. We were lucky to have such amazing parents to turn to. So, yeah. Wow. There's just so much happening in your life with Indy and your daughter. But we'll talk about that a little bit. But first, I want to ask you, as a grandparent, are you getting the support that you need?
Unfortunately, no. I don't think our society is to that point yet where there are support groups. I don't even think people are talking about it. I don't know if it's an embarrassment thing. We see a lot of grandparents dropping kids off at indie school, and we don't know what their situations are. We do know that there are quite a few grandparents that are raising their kids. But like I said, no one wants to talk about it. They don't want to talk about maybe their child's substance abuse, which is why they're taking care of their grandkids now. I've looked for support groups. I've talked to therapists. No, we can't seem to find anything out there. And I think that's the biggest thing that we need. Kathy, as you know, we had a fabulous support group, parent support group. And I was so hoping that we would find that, just somebody else to talk to and, how are you dealing with this? And the different changes, because when we were raising our kids, oh my goodness, it is so different now, so different. Going through the school systems and what they can and cannot do. And it's been very interesting.
Right. I can imagine. I think that's what got us through. I mean, that's what really got me through is the support. And when
Me
you
too.
don't have support, you're like, how many people in my community are raising their grandchildren? How
Yeah,
many of you are out there? Like, who can I turn to? Who can I talk to?
right.
So that is definitely got to be one of the most difficult things. I think you're going to have to start a group. Sorry.
No, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anybody out there, call me because I just think we do need that support.
Right.
As
Right.
a couple, my husband and I, we need that support, and we don't even know what's normal anymore. We look at the 7-year-old. Okay, so is what she's doing right now, is this normal or is this abnormal? You forget those
Yes.
things. So
You do forget those things. And
yeah.
times have changed too. What was okay for our 7-year-olds in our time is totally different now. It
Yes,
blows my mind. It really does.
it really does.
But what issues do you face as a grandparent
Well,
raising Indy?
I think one, you go to school, and of course, you have all the young moms there, and Michael is the one that's fortunate enough to drop her off in the morning, so he gets to be with all the young moms.
Yes.
If there's gosh, there are so many things. I don't even know where to start with that question. But going back to when we got her, we were empty nesters. And you go from an empty nester to all of a sudden having an 18-month-old in your house.
Right.
Everything changes. Everything changes.
Right.
Oh, we need a car seat. Oh, we need a bedroom. We need a crib. You need all these things.
Right.
It's like it just totally upended our world as we knew it. It definitely improved our world. I don't want to sound
Right.
like we're ungrateful because she's an amazing child and we're so blessed to have her. But the things that you now deal with, it's just very interesting.
Right.
I'm not quite sure. Everything has changed. How's that? Everything has changed.
Everything has changed. I get it. And I understand it because seriously, I think about myself and I think it was hard enough raising kids, and the joy that I have being a grandparent is so different. And now that joy of being a grandparent has changed to a parent. And that
Right.
must be a hard balance. I mean, it must
It
be hard to
is.
balance that.
Because you want, they're your grandchild and you want
Right.
to give them all these things that typical grandparents do for their grandchildren.
Right.
But we have to temper that with the fact that we're now her parents. So sometimes we get overindulgent. That's the grandparent in us.
Right.
And then we have to step back and remember that we have to be the disciplinary. We have to make sure that homework gets done. We have to set up the boundaries where grandparents don't necessarily have to do that.
Right. They get to have fun and send them home, right?
Exactly. And get a good night's rest.
Yeah. Oh, but it is a balance like we talked about. But how do you take care of yourself? Or are you able to say, okay, Michael, today's a day I got to have for myself, and I'm going out to get a massage, or I'm going to go out and have my feet rubbed, or I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Are you able to do that?
We do. We're working.
Yeah.
We're practicing that. I mean, it's still tough, because you have a 7-year-old. I think as she gets older, it'll be easier. But obviously for the first 4 years, it was terribly tough. You didn't have time to do anything because you were taking care of an infant or a toddler, and they need your full-time attention. And Indy didn't get the attention she needed in those first 18 months of her life. When we first got her, Kathy, I mean, she grabbed her blanket when it was bedtime and started up the stairs. And it's like, Indy, where are you going? She's like, to bed. It's like, wait a minute. No one tucks you in. No one rocks you to sleep. Those things that are so crucial for a child to have. And it really made us sad. And we really realized how neglected she had been. So then you're trying to make up for lost time. So you throw yourself into it as best you can.
Here is another statistic that I found to be interesting. It says that two events have contributed to large spikes in this statistic. The recession that occurred between 2007 and 2009, and the epidemic of crack use in the late 1980s. So we do know that your daughter, Nicole, had substance abuse.
Yeah, yes.
And so that contributed to her not being able to really take care of her daughter.
Right, exactly.
And so you were able to adopt her daughter at a young age. And how did that work out for Nicole and her husband with you having sole custody of Indy?
The father really fought us for custody, but again, he was on drugs himself.
Right.
Nicole had been charged with child neglect and had to spend some time in jail. And she told the judge before she went to jail that she wanted her mom and her stepdad to raise Indy. And the judge commended her on that and said, I think that's a very smart idea. So unfortunately, when the adoption went through, when their parental rights were terminated and the adoption went through, we have heard nothing, which is to some degree a blessing from the father. But unfortunately, we lost Nicole in March from a heroin fentanyl overdose. And that was really tough because we had to tell Indy, and Indy didn't have much contact with her. Every once in a while, she'd had Facebook time. And we had to tell her, and we basically said, look, your mom was sick. And unfortunately, she passed away today. And she got tears in her eyes, and she just said, she kind of looked at me and she said, I really wanted to see Nicole again. And I said, honey, we all did, because it had been estranged. We've been estranged from her for 3 years before she passed away. We had always told her she could have a relationship with her, but she had to be sober. She had to be able to come into Indy's life and do something positive, be that positive person that Indy needed. So, I mean, it's been a very trying year. It's been very sad.
Yes.
Yeah, just.
I can imagine.
I don't know.
You lost your daughter and you gained a granddaughter.
And a daughter.
Yeah, and she's now your daughter, really.
I know. It's very interesting. Indy always says, Mom, I was meant to be yours. And it's out of the mouths of babes. I mean, she believes that, we're mom and dad and we were meant to be her mom and dad.
Right.
So.
And the beautiful thing about it is, because I knew Nicole, when I see pictures of Indy,
spitting image.
Just like Nicole.
Yes, she does.
She looks just like her.
I know.
And
so that's really interesting too, because sometimes you want to go, Nicole,
yes.
But she has a very different personality than Nicole had.
Yeah.
And so we love Indy for Indy.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard to make that separation sometimes, but
right.
We do try to focus. No, this is not Nicole. We're not going to have to go through everything that we had to go through with Nicole again. This is Indy. She's a different person, and she has a different background. She has people who love her and care for her, and it's going to be a different story. It's going to be a different story.
And as a parent, you sometimes, after your kids have grown, you say, gosh, I wish I would have done that. I
Yeah.
wish I would have had the opportunity to do that. And it's
Yeah.
almost like you have a second chance
Yeah.
to do all the things that you wish you could have been with your
Yes.
granddaughter now.
Second chances,
Yeah.
definitely. You don't always remember that
Yes.
during times, those trial and tribulations. You don't always remember that.
Right.
Um, like I said, I think being older, I'm 56,
Yes.
and I think you have a little more patience. My
Yes.
husband has more patience than I do.
Right.
It's tough to go through menopause and
Yes.
care for a baby, and it's just too many crazy things in a woman's life that happens.
Right. Right.
But I'm thankful to have Michael, and she is so lucky to have him and both of us in her life. It's tough because we don't have family around.
Yeah.
We're 2,000 miles away from our closest family. So I think that's a tough piece, but we're making do. We're making
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. It's nice because I think as time goes on too, that you will find that support system where, grandparents can exchange kids for a night, or,
Yeah.
I want any of you that are listening, or come back and listen to this video. If you're living in Colorado and you know anything about support groups that might help Penny, can you just please contact me or write a little note under this video so that we can connect Penny with that, because she has yet to find that. Again, she is working full time, and her husband is working from, he has his own business, but they're both working. So this becomes difficult to take that 5 minutes and look for a
Right.
group when you're raising your grandchildren. You want to spend a little time with them, not on the computer. So I would just ask any of you out there, I know a lot of you in Colorado, if you know any support groups or grandparents raising their grandchildren, please, please, please reach out, because this is about women helping each other here. And I would love to know about some information for Penny that could help her out. Um, One thing I want to, there's another statistic here, and it says 21% of grandparents who are taking care of their grandkids are now living below poverty level. So can you imagine that all of a sudden you're given and you're taking a
Mhm.
grandchild, and you and your husband are in retirement years and living on a pension? I mean, I know you both are working, and I think, that's great because you're not retired yet. But
Right,
can you
right.
imagine that? I mean,
No, if I was 10 years older,
oh,
I mean, it would be a totally different story.
yes,
We do both work full time,
right,
and we do make a nice living,
right,
and we are able to help Indy.
right.
She's got a lot of therapy that she needs and that she's going through.
Yep.
And actually, we all have therapy that we need to go through
Yeah.
with the adjustments and her behavior and all kinds of different issues. So it takes a lot of money to raise a child.
Yes.
And I can't imagine how some people who are parents, young parents, are doing it. I cannot even begin to imagine.
Yeah.
I'm in OBGYN. I work at an OBGYN practice. And when I see these young people coming in, it's like, gosh, you guys do even have a clue what it's going to be like to raise a child and how much it takes, the time, the finances, everything. It can be draining.
It can be draining, and everyone needs support. Can you tell us about Nicole?
Oh boy, that one I may get a little emotional about.
That's okay.
I think, gosh, Kathy, she was an amazing young lady. I mean, she really was. And I think the thing about substance abuse
Yeah.
is when we were in Cornerstone, I'm
Yes.
going to go back to that.
Yeah.
All of the parents in the parent group looked around at each other, and we were all looking for that one one common thread that we all had as to why our child was doing drugs.
Right.
You know, we had parents who had been married and together forever.
Right.
We had attorneys and doctors and ministers
Right.
and alcoholics. All of the parents, it was such a diverse group.
Yes.
And the one common thread was it was their child's choice. It didn't matter how much religion they had, how much wealth they had. There was something in them and that said, this is the way, this is the path for them. And I think that's really important. You can't blame yourself if your child gets into substance abuse. You just can't. It is a sickness,
Yes.
and they have revealed that it's hereditary.
Right.
So, you know, we're looking at it from a point of view of Indy. You know, she's got this possibility of being an addict as she gets older. So how are we going to set those positive things in place? And I know I really didn't talk about Nicole there per se. It was a choice Nicole made. And I'm very sad for her choice. We loved her. There really wasn't anything that all two sets of parents, because Nicole's dad and his wife, wonderful woman. They were supportive of Nicole. Michael and I were supportive of Nicole. I mean, we have a very unique relationship. We do holidays together. You know, you don't see that with divorced families.
That's right.
You know, we always put the kids first.
Right.
So, you know, we did the best we could, and she made the decision she did.
Right.
And we miss her terribly. And there were so many things left unsaid between us. And I had always had that hope that someday we could come back together, you know, and fix it.
Yep.
And I won't have that opportunity now. So.
But you know, somehow you can fix it through Indy. Somehow you can. And I can't imagine losing a child to substance abuse. It's such a waste, and we don't fully understand it. We do understand that now heroin seems to be a drug of choice, and it's cut with so many terrible things that people don't have chance hardly anymore.
They don't. She had so much fentanyl in her system that the needle probably didn't even fall out of her arm before she actually died.
Right.
And it's a terrible, terrible, probably one of the best ways to die if you're going to die, because you know, you basically just go to sleep. That's it. That's not really comforting.
No.
Because I lost a child. You know, there's a hole in my heart that will always be there. So what we can do is love Indy and do our best with her.
And you are.
And we are. Sometimes it's a challenge, but we are.
And you are. And every picture I've seen of Indy, she's smiling, she's happy. And she looks, I know that she's not Nicole, but she looks so much like her mom.
Yes.
And so, you know, Nicole will never, ever be forgotten.
No, she won't.
I knew Nicole. I'm going to say a couple of things about Nicole before we go. And that is that she was a very creative individual.
Yep.
Her way of thinking was always kind and loving towards others. She always made sure everyone was included. And I'm just very, very grateful that she is in a place where she doesn't have any more pain.
Agreed. Right? That was beautiful. Thank you, Kathy.
Absolutely. And thank you for coming on today and talking about what it's like to raise your grandchild, because there's so many of you doing this. And I hope that some people are going to make comments and they're going to let us know if there's anything that can support you because you need support. And I admire you and I honor you for being the woman that you are and taking care of your granddaughter because you are doing things that really matter.
Thank you, Kathy.
And thank you so, so much for being here. And I want to tell you all thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here on the first show of Reality Chick. I love the name of it. It really sounds like a little bit cheeky until you sort of think about what the show is about. And it's about real women doing real things that matter. So again, thank you all for being here. And I'll see you next month with another guest, woman that is doing real things that matter. Goodbye.